Welcome to our event. This is Design Majors panel. I am one of the event coordinators for Husky, and I will be emceeing this event. So first, before we get into this, let's have everyone on the panel introduce themselves. So we'll start on this side, and then we'll work our way back.
Hi, I'm Victoria Peskin. I am in the Industrial Design program. So,
yeah.
I'm Justin McKissick. I'm in the Visual Communication Design and Informatics programs.
Hello, my name is Andrea. I'm currently studying informatics. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what I've done in the program?
We'll get to that, yeah.
Oh, and my name is, well, I'm not a student, but I do work for the informatics program, but my big goal is that we're all trying to find students, get students into the right tech major. So getting more of the technical questions about any of the application process, I'm happy to talk about them.
All right, let's give them a round of applause. So the way this event is going to work is that we have questions that you all voted on, so we're going to go through 4 of those and maybe more if we have time. And then after that, we're going to have an open Q&A, after which panelists will be open for one-on-one questions. So let's get started. So the first question is, what kind of work should I put in the portfolio for the design workshop or for an optional portfolio?
you didn't do the workshop, right? Okay, so for the workshop, I spoke to an advisor because I did the workshop last year. They really want you to put schoolwork in there, so they kind of discourage you from putting like personal projects and outside work in there because they want to see what you did while you were in 166. This is different if you're like a transfer student and you have like outside work. But really focus on putting stuff from 166, and they also love to see if you made any improvements from what you turned in during that class. They want to see like a before and after, so then that shows them that they have, or if you are able to like take their criticism, maybe after you got your grade back, and you're able to improve on it.
Next question, I guess. So, what would you say is the most important component of the application process? And this, I guess, goes for everyone. Yeah, anyone can start.
Well, I think for informatics, well, you may correct me on this.
Okay.
But when I was applying last year, I think the most important part about the application I found was making sure that it was a right fit for you. So you were trying to convince the admissions committee on why you were a good fit. So to do that, you can't really do that until you convince yourself that you're a good fit for the program. So really think about why you chose informatics. What about informatics draws you to it in the sense of like, what about like the program? Is it the classes? Is it the community? Like, is it everything? But what about everything are you trying to focus on? And so I think you have to answer questions for yourself first before you can focus on trying to answer questions for the application. So really think about why you want informatics, and then from there, think about how you can convince the admissions committee and what you can do to show them that you are a good fit for informatics. Because like I think with applying to majors and stuff, you want the majors are competitive because they want to have the people who can best represent the major. They want people who can continue on and be successful, and then when you see those success stories and you're like, oh, they're an informatics major, that inspires you to apply. So it's in the program's best interest to choose people who they believe will be the most successful or who will continue to make the program remain prestigious or to bring success to the program. And so as an applicant, you have to make sure you can stand out and really show that there's potential here and that you're ready to grow once you've been into the program.
Yeah, and definitely I agree with all those points. From some of that puts together these admissions processes. Our point is not to try to have you compete with each other and otherwise make you feel bad if you had a bad grade in specific class. What we're really trying to do is put together a community of people that think the same, are concerned about the same kind of issues, have the same kind of questions, so you can actually have good conversation with each other, but also have slightly different skills so that you can collaborate effectively with each other. So yeah, some of it's about maintaining prestige, but it's really so that you guys have a good experience when you're in the group, so that when we're trying to put together, people who will be good resources to each other, people that will be a part of teams that we want to work on. So what we're really looking for in this application is not for you to report back to us all the marketing language we use on our website. We really want to understand how does the whether it's informatics, HCD, I think we have new something like that, yeah. HCDE, or what us UW administrators are looking for is, do you ask the kind of questions that our faculty are asking questions about, and that will you be able to make the best use of your time?
And I think with informatics, you don't have to be the best designer, the best software developer, but if you have the ability to grow and to really continue developing your skills or changing your path or just being adaptable, like those are other valuable skills that we look for in the major.
Yeah, to kind of add on to that, I'd say probably one of the most important things that I really try to emphasize in design application is just the passion. Because I think, like you said, like you don't have to be good at software development, you don't have to be a good designer, but if you show that you're willing to learn and you're willing to kind of grow and show your passion, then I think that's probably one of the biggest things that makes you a strong applicant. But then also, I see it kind of as a two-way street, because one of the things that at least drew me to informatics initially was just the community, which is kind of what everyone says. Yeah, but I mean, it really is true with informatics, because there's so many different types of people in the major, but then we all come together kind of for the same purpose.
I think something like design for, what's the class for interaction design that Axel usually teaches? Design for 63 or something like that? Yeah, there's that. Yeah, but basically that's a great class to actually show the differences, because they do recruit across the entire campus to show what an interaction designer through the School of Art does, what an informatics student might be contributing, what an industrial designer would be contributing, because they all have slightly different interests. Like many of the traditional interaction designers in the School of Art might not have that strong coding and web development background, but they really do have a strong background in things like ideation, pie in the sky kind of dreaming, and be able to justify some of their design choices more effectively. Whereas an informatics student might have a little bit more of those tech skills and maybe a little design. They tend to be more jack of all trades. Whereas, more of the people that are coming from the engineering side might be looking at more have some strength in the design specifications. So each of the different programs are looking for students that have a certain kind of absolute strengths, but you're also a student. We don't expect you're saying that capacity to grow, that willingness to learn. These are definitely things we're looking for from students, because we know that's part of why you're going to college, is to become a better version of yourself, to know more, to do more. That's fine.
And I also think like that, you can't fake that passion, you can't fake that capacity. You can fake that you have those skills, but like you can't fake that. It comes off quickly as ingenuine, and you can't really like try to be someone you're not. So definitely try to stay genuine in your application. And like, I don't know, I think rejection for me has always just been like, because I've been rejected so many times, like that like it's not me, that it's also a good thing for me, like in the sense of it wasn't a good fit. Like I've looked past all my rejections and was like, actually I'm really appreciative of the fact that I did get that opportunity, and now I'm appreciative of the opportunities that it led me to look into, because I got rejected from that.
But wait, can
Yeah,
the
so
people
we have a
so-
new panelist that came in. Could you please introduce yourself, and I'll repeat the question if you do that.
Sure. Hi, my name is Lauren Beeler. I'm in HCDE. I got in last spring, so I've been in for about a year now. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, that's more than good. Thank
Okay.
you. So the question was, what would you say is the most important component of the application process?
Probably what I would say is the thought that you put into it. I know that's sort of what they were saying, but like I started my essay 5 months before I applied, because I wanted to make sure that I was thinking about all of the different reasons that I wanted this major. I came into UW knowing that I wanted to do HCDE, so I had sort of been thinking about it for a long time, but really having a place to put down all of your ideas, put down all of your understandings of what the major is, because that's sort of a hard part of, at least my understanding of all of these majors, is that it's very open. You can do a lot with it. There's not really one definition of any of these majors. So like forming that definition for yourself and being able to verbalize it or write it down, I think that's really important, because once you can do that, you can say why that's important to you.
Did you have it, Rena?
Yeah, so the application for design, if you don't get in through the class, so for design to get in, you either have to get 3.7 or above in 166. In winter and spring, I think each one was like 100 to 120 students in it. and about like 10 people get in through the class, so the rest of the people can go through the workshop. And there's a couple different parts to the workshop, so you need to have a letter of intent, you have to make a portfolio, and you do like a day-long kind of workshop where you kind of show them your work and your thought process. And I think all of these are pretty equally weighted. And then you also get like little mini interviews, you get like pulled out during the workshop and talk to some of the people who will be kind of seeing if you get in. The letter is very important in there because it's kind of, they're going to be able to see your thought process and see in terms of like your passion for design. I came into UW originally wanting to do mechanical engineering, so my first year here was kind of catered towards that, and then I discovered industrial design, so I kind of had to shift gears and start doing something else. And that was really important to put into the letter of intent because it shows them that even though I had prepped myself for this other course, like I was able to kind of like start taking new classes and shift towards that. And then they also, in the letter, they like to see like, if you don't get in, what will you do? That's one of the questions for the letter of intent. Don't be afraid to say like I would probably like switch schools if I don't get in, because that was actually a possibility for me if I did get in. I was really like passionate about industrial design, so I'd probably like go to another school. Writing that I think showed them that I was really dedicated to it. And then let's see, for the portfolio, I spent a lot of time on that because they get to see all of your like past work, and then putting like before and afters, like I touched on this a little bit, but if you like made any improvements to it, definitely put that in your portfolio.
Cool. Our next question is, so what are the main differences between interaction design, HCD, the human-computer interaction track, and info, the human-computer interaction track option?
That's a hard question because I don't really know like what they do.
Maybe it'd be better if like each one of us kind of spoke to what our program or that track emphasizes. Yeah, that might be more, a little bit more accurate. Yeah.
Okay, I can start. So for the HCI track for HCE, it's basically another 25 credits, I believe. So you do the base, the core classes of HCE, which include like user research and a Python class and a UCD class. And then to go into HCI, you take HCI Foundations, and then you have another 4 classes, 4 or 5. Sorry, I'm not an expert on it, still working on it. But you have another 5 disciplines, including ethics, including design, including like more technical stuff. And they're all, at least most of them, are in different majors. So you can take a design class here that's listed, or you can take a CS class, you can take an info class. So yeah, I mean, I haven't actually gone into, I'm taking the HCI Foundations right now, and I've taken another class which was prototyping. But from what I understand, it's really what you make it for HCD, because there are just so many options and ways you can take it.
I think along with info, it's the same thing for the HCA track, like especially in the major, because we have so many custom tracks and you can take so many classes in the major that it is really what you make out of it, or you can choose to be on the custom track where you take whatever you want. But at the same time, it's going to be you who decides what your degree is going to have in terms of what skills you learn, what classes you take, what kind of projects you build. That's all up to you as a student. So you're very active in the program in terms of planning out education. But the HCI track, I don't know much about it, but like I was on it for a bit, and then I completely came on to the custom track. The HCI track, I think it tends to focus more kind of like on software development of it, in the sense of like Info 360. I think I built an app for it, and then like a lot of like there's like a class on visualization, like user inputs and interactions, and that's also another way of just seeing how users interact with technology. Oftentimes, that technology is a software component of it. So how many mouse clicks does it take to get to the next tweet? How many times does the user have to go through the search bar to find the content? And so I think a lot of the HCI courses tend to be more software focused, but you definitely learn a lot of cool concepts in the sense of when you're building things, you have a more academic approach to how design is thought about, because you go through a website and you're like, wow, I just did this. But then when you're in those courses, you're like, oh, this is part of this process, and you really break it down. And also, one thing I like about the HCI track and all about informatics is that the faculty are really passionate about the subjects that they teach, and a lot of them have industry experience or are still currently working in the industry. I, for a fact, know that I think Input and Interaction, taught by Jason Levine, he's still currently working at Amazon as a UX. I don't know his role, but he's in the UX department at Amazon, and so the skills that he's teaching in the class comes directly out of industry, and so that's really cool to be learning in informatics.
Yeah, and I'll kind of add on to that. I think one of the best things about Info is kind of just having professors or faculty, I guess, come in from industry, because then you get really relevant problems. Like I'm in the Info 498 class right now, which is the Advanced UX Lab, and that's also taught by Jason Levine. And he's been bringing in a lot of his Amazon experience, so there's a lot of, every class is very he brings up a lot of Amazon, but it's really valuable because he'll come in and talk about work that he had actually done at Amazon the previous day. But I'm currently on the HCI track in Info right now. I haven't done a lot of the classes yet, but I've taken 466, which is the Immersive Information Environments one. I know there's value-sensitive design, is that also an HCI track? Yeah. There's 362, which you get a lot of visual design and creating different infographics, so I think that's actually really great. And as someone who is really interested in the visual side, because I'm also in the VCD program, that class is pretty valuable.
It's probably the only real design class you have. Yeah. But just to give a little bit of the historical context, there is a lot of overlap between HCD and informatics as HCI tracks, because we intentionally built them together at the same time. We launched the two tracks along with computer science. So interaction design, informatics, HCD, and computer science, we all launched HCI at the same time. UW actually hired about 12 faculty across those disciplines, and they all said, let's actually create a concentration or a specialization on the campus around this. But each of our departments are going to look at that the interaction between humans and computers, and going to make things more efficient, effective, and enjoyable. And the computer science people are focusing on efficiency and effectiveness, like all engineers do. The folks from the design side of things, we're really looking at effectiveness, which is a big point of being a good designer, is how do you make an effective design? Not necessarily something pretty, but how do you figure out what people want and meet that effectiveness? And also the idea of enjoyability. We are human beings, we want to be able to enjoy the experience instead of being hamstrung by it. And that's the part that many of the design programs share with HCI, is that we're going to focus much more on who are the specific users and on how we make sure that they have a good experience out of this. And I was going to go with all of this. Oh, and so this is some of the things that some of the ways that these different majors on this campus are really trying to figure out how to train you in different ways. So again, with the design is going to focus on effectiveness, and so HCD initially came from technical communications. So the big point of that, maybe a couple decades ago, is the focus for that particular program is how do we make technologies understandable to people so that they can effectively use them? How do we understand how people understand things? It comes from a communications background. Informatics comes from an information background. So we're going to have a little bit more on the database side, a little bit more on the technical side, which is why you will take more of the classes in web development and not so many of the classes in things like typography or color theory that you'll be getting through interaction design or through the other design programs, because those things are very useful for psychology. Another way to think about it is that human-computer interaction is trying to bridge the gap between psychology and computer science or the social sciences and engineering. So whereas something like communication and HCD is really going to focus on how do we have human beings more effectively interact with each other, computer science is going to be focusing on how you have computers interact effectively with each other. What we're doing in the HCI type of programs is how do we have humans and computers interact effectively with each other, because we're going to be living in a kind of cyborg society, so how do we have that experience be good for everything?
Oh, is that everyone? So, what helped you the most in terms of preparing for the written responses for the application?
Well, like I said, I started like 5 months early. Since I applied at the end of January, that means that I had started like in summer. I had to take another stats class, I believe, before I could actually apply. So I had taken the stats class before that, so during that time during the stats class I was brainstorming of how to apply to HCDE. But, let's see, sorry, could you repeat the question again?
Oh, sure. What helped you the most in terms of preparing for the written responses for the application?
I went to the Odegaard Writing Center a couple times. I asked a lot of friends to read my report. I would take, a couple days off from writing, and I would look back at it, and I would look back at the question and ask myself, what else could it be asking? How else could I address this? What else is important to me about how I understand this major? And like I was saying earlier, it's all about how you understand the major. And so part of that is asking people, talking to professors, talking to HCD students or design students. I definitely came to a meeting just like this. I was in HCDE 210. All of these things helped me understand what HCDE was, helped me work at what I really wanted in my major, and how I could express how much I really wanted to be in HCDE. And I think all of that, with the amount of time that I had, really allowed me to create the essay that I wanted.
Yeah, for the workshop essay, the letter of intent, I think the biggest help for me was just having my friends and family peer edit my paper, because I was looking at it for a long time, and it's really hard because you just kind of think yeah, this is awesome, and someone else reads it and then they see oh, maybe you should add or take this out, or they edit it really nicely. I wrote the essay, so I had a week between when the grades for 166 were released to when the workshop was. So I had about a week to write the essay.
I'm down for pizza.
You can continue.
Yeah. So I didn't have a lot of time to prepare this essay, so I think just the biggest help was having other people revise it and read over it and make sure everything sounds genuine and makes me sound passionate.
Yeah, so I'd say I probably, because I applied for info and HCD, I probably took a little kind of the opposite as Lauren is. I started writing it a few days before it was due, which is I tell you, do not do that. Don't do it. I'm so glad but what I will say though is that for several months before that, I had been talking with people in the program. I had been talking to professors. I had been kind of formulating in my head what I wanted to say, if that made sense. And then I kind of the week before it was due, I really intensely worked on it, and then sent it out to everyone I knew. I had all these edits. I would say Joelle, you've recommended before, definitely send it out to your friends, because you kind of go blind as you work on it. You'll these things that you won't necessarily see. You'll think it sounds fine, then you'll send it to one person. They'll say this is terrible, and you'll think, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And then you'll send it to a few more, and they all say that part's terrible. And that's when you probably should listen to them, even if you think you know what you're talking about. So I'd say that was probably the most effective thing, is just sending it out, getting more eyes on my application. Start it early. Don't do that, because I also submitted it very close to when that link closed, and I had a small panic attack. I was I don't know if it's submitted. It all worked out for me, but don't do that. That was not a good idea. But also what Lauren said that I totally would agree with is I went to kind of panels and little talks like this, and talking with people in the program and kind of learning what they did was actually really helpful, because I remember probably 2 months before I applied actually going around the first Pixel Husky events and talking with some people there, and I kind of had in my head, oh, I'm going to start my application soon. I kind of knew the direction I wanted to go in. Talking about kind of the design work I had already done, because I wanted to apply to info kind of on a design path, so to speak. And they told me, don't do that, or don't, like, I kind of explained the direction I was going, and they're like, do not do that, and I'm so glad they told me that, because I kind of reformulated, because I wanted to talk about, you know, what I could do for the program as opposed to just what the program could do for me, because it's that kind of two-way street, and also kind of talking about my goals and the passion. I think it all goes back to passion. I think that's one of the biggest things, is like, that goes for all these majors, is it's really everyone in the program, both info and design that I've met, they're all just really passionate about what they do. I think that's the one unifying trait, is that we all really love what we do. So.
Yeah, I think coming out to panels like this is really helpful in the sense of like, I mean, yeah, you can find informatics students, HCD students, IXC students, all everywhere around campus, but with panels, like, we willingly agreed to share our time to come out and really talk about the major. So like, this is like an advantage in the sense of like, this is an opportunity that we have opened up, that we want to talk about this. So coming out to panels is a great way to learn. So that's a good first step that all of you guys have taken. For my application, I didn't have the luxury of 5 months because I wasn't even going to apply to informatics. Because I had no intention. I came in as a bio major, and spring quarter, I was like, wow, informatics sounds really cool. And I started doing info courses, and I started doing CS courses, and so I had like the luxury of like somehow serendipitously finding this major. And I really loved the major, and so I started to like fall in love. I took Info 200 with Stearns, with Dr. Stearns, and I really loved the course. Like, it clicked for me, but at the same time, it was the beginning of it, and I was like, wanted to see where it could go. And so for my application, since like I had no interest in technology, and so it was like hard for me to like formulate that initially. And I think because of that, I tended to focus on a human-centered interaction route for my application, since that was one of the more like things I was more familiar with technology, in the sense of like I was thinking about anthropology, biology, so I was more focused on people at that time. And so seeing how I could help that relationship between people and technology was what I tended to focus my application on. But like now that I'm in the major, I definitely love the HCI aspect, but it's not my main focus anymore. And I think that's completely okay, in the sense of like finding your passions later on, but to continue to like just go after an interest and then see where that interest takes you, rather than worry about being like, is this the big passion of my life? Because I don't think you ever find the big passion of your life, but you slowly stumble upon it by like just walking on, like you find an interest in like, oh, I wonder where this could take me, like I want to see where this goes, following those little interests. But I definitely also like asked a lot of my friends. I went to the info application workshops a lot. I think Lovely and like, I mean, Tori and Dewell were like, oh my god, she's here again. And so, but at the application, I had, so the current students were willing to like help with the application, since I guess it was like a more familiar process than I guess this year. And so one of the students who read my application didn't like the part I had written. And at the same time, like with your application, it's your application. Like even if they don't like it, even if people don't like it, but like trust your own gut feeling. I decided to leave it in, even though he was like, you're probably not gonna get it in if you leave this in. And I was like, watch me. This is not like the thing you want to say, like someone who's devoted their time to like help you. Like that's the thing they're volunteering. So I was like a little like sassy back then. But yeah, I have a little more respect for everybody now. But at the same time, like it is your application. Like you can get all the help you want, but you want to make sure that with all the advice you've been given, you stick to whatever shape of your application you've been given. So like if you think your passion right now is like HCI, and someone is like, you should have cybersecurity in there, don't do it unless like it really is like, oh, you're right, like that's secretly been my passion. So like definitely take advice, but also at the end of the day, make your own call to decide on which advice you want. Like be like, oh, I really like this advice, and I think this one wasn't that good. It doesn't really match with what I was trying to do in my application. So like it's your application. Don't let other people take control of it. Don't let other like take the steering wheel, but like stay in control and like really try to ask questions that will help you find your application. But yes, do ask people. But at the same time, make sure that you have a goal for what your application is going to do, and try to stick with that goal.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the best parts about the application is this is like your chance to show your voice.
Mhm.
Because if you had, hundreds of applicants all saying, hey, I want to be a software developer, hey, I want to be a UX designer, like if all of them, for admissions, you might as well just throw a dart at a board then. I mean, what your voice is what makes